The morning sun rose over New Bizen Colony like any other day. Daesung stood at his kitchen window, watching his daughter Hana play in the garden outside. She was chasing butterflies, her laughter filling the air. He smiled and took another sip of his coffee. Life on the frontier was hard, but moments like these made it worthwhile. The alarm shattered the peaceful morning. Red lights flashed across every building in the colony. Daesung's coffee mug fell from his hand and shattered on the floor. He ran outside and grabbed Hana, pulling her close. "Daddy, what's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Go to the shelter, baby. Run, now." He pushed her toward the underground bunker, but it was already too late. Ships descended from the sky. They were not human ships. These vessels were strange, covered in green and black scales that seemed to move. Daesung had seen alien ships before, but never this many. Never this close to the residential areas. Captain Jinho's voice crackled over the colony speakers. "All civilians to shelters. Defense teams to positions. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Daesung ran with Hana toward the nearest shelter. Other families were doing the same. Parents carried small children. Elderly colonists moved as fast as they could. The air filled with the sound of energy weapons firing. The Colonial Defense Force was fighting back, but they were outnumbered. A beam of blue light shot down from one of the alien ships. It created a barrier around a group of running civilians. Daesung watched in horror as the barrier trapped 15 people inside, mostly children who had been running from the school. Hana was steps away from the barrier when another beam caught her. "Hana!" Daesung screamed. He threw himself at the barrier, but it shocked him backward. He could see his daughter inside, crying and reaching for him. Other children were there too. All of them scared. All of them trapped. Alien soldiers descended on ropes of light. They were tall, covered in reptilian scales, with eyes that reflected no emotion. Their leader, a scarred warrior named Tevlak, surveyed the captured children with satisfaction. He spoke into a device on his wrist in a language Daesung did not understand. "Let them go!" Daesung shouted. He got up and ran at the barrier again. This time, an alien soldier pointed a weapon at him. The blast hit him in the chest, and everything went dark for a moment. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on the ground. His chest burned with pain. Other colonists were pulling him back to safety. In the sky, the alien ships were lifting off. The barriers around the children rose with them, pulling the trapped kids into the vessels. Daesung watched helplessly as Hana disappeared into the belly of an alien ship. Her small hands pressed against the barrier. She was screaming for him, but he could not hear her through the energy field. Captain Jinho appeared beside him, helping him to his feet. Blood ran down Jinho's face from a cut above his eye. His uniform was scorched. "How many?" Daesung asked, his voice breaking. 23 children, Jinho said quietly. "They took 23 of our children." Around them, the colony was in chaos. Buildings burned. The defense guns were destroyed. But the worst damage was not to the structures. It was to the hearts of every parent watching those ships disappear into the sky. Jinho pulled out his communication device. His hand shook as he activated it. Emergency broadcast. All frequencies. Authorization Jinho 77 Beta. He took a breath. "This is New Bizen Colony. We have been attacked by unknown alien forces. They have taken 23 human children as hostages. Repeat, they have kidnapped our children. Sending ship signatures and last known trajectory now." The message went out across space. It would take time to reach the nearest human military base. Time they did not have. But Jinho knew one thing for certain. When that message reached human space, everything would change. In his ship, Tevlak examined his prizes. The human children huddled together in a holding cell, crying and calling for their parents. He felt nothing. They were simply tools, leverage. The Krell Consortium wanted humanity to stop expanding into their territory. These small creatures would make perfect bargaining chips. "Sir, the operation was a success," his second officer reported. "Minimal casualties on our side. The human defenses were weak." "Good," Tevlok said. "Set course for the Consortium flagship. Command will be pleased. We have struck at the humans where it will hurt them most." He did not know he was wrong. He did not understand that he had not hurt humanity. He had awakened something far worse. Something that had been sleeping behind humanity's peaceful expansion into the stars. Back on New Bizin, Daesung stood among the other parents. They did not cry anymore. Their tears had dried. Now there was only a cold, hard determination in their eyes. Around the colony, every adult who could hold a weapon was arming themselves. They would not wait for the military. They would not wait for negotiations. Jinho's communication device beeped. A response was already coming in from the nearest human outpost. Then another, and another. Within minutes, responses flooded in from dozens of stations, ships, and colonies. "They are coming," Jinho whispered, reading the messages. "Everyone is coming." Daesung looked up at the stars where his daughter had vanished. "Good," he said softly. "Let them all come." The Krell Consortium flagship hung in space like a massive city. Inside its Grand Council chamber, representatives from 12 different alien species waited. They had heard that Tevlok's mission was successful. Now they would learn the details. Tevlok entered the chamber with confidence. His scales gleamed under the artificial lights. He bowed to the council and activated a holographic display. Images of the raid appeared in the air above them. "Honored council members," Tevlok began. "The operation against the human colony was completed perfectly. We encountered minimal resistance. Their weapons were primitive. Their defenses collapsed quickly." The council members nodded approvingly. Some made please sounds in their various languages. "And the objective?" asked Councillor Vexter, a being made of crystalline structures that shifted colors as it spoke. Tevlok smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Achieved beyond expectations. We have captured 23 human juveniles. They are now safely contained in our holding facilities. The humans will have no choice but to negotiate on our terms." There was silence in the chamber. Then, from the back, a deep voice spoke. "You did what?" General Korvash pushed through the crowd of council members. He was a Krell, like most of the military leadership, but older than Tevlok. His scales were darker, marked with scars from 100 battles. His eyes, usually calm, now showed something the council had never seen before: fear. "I captured their young," Tevlok repeated, confused by the general's reaction. "It was a perfect operation. Now we have leverage." Korvash moved closer, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow filled the entire chamber. "You took their children? Their young offspring? You are certain?" "Yes, General. 23 of them." "Is there a problem?" Korvash turned to the council. His voice was steady, but those who knew him could hear the tremor beneath. "Release them. Release them right now. Send them back immediately with full honors and our deepest apologies." Councillor Vexter's colors shifted to an angry red. "General, you forget yourself. These hostages give us exactly what we need." "You do not understand," Korvash said. He moved to the holographic controls and changed the display. Images of Earth appeared. Human history scrolled past. Battles, wars, conflicts spanning thousands of years. I have spent 20 cycles studying these creatures. I have read their histories. I have analyzed their psychology. They are reasonable beings. They negotiate. They compromise. They follow rules of war. He paused, letting his words sink in. But there is one exception. One single exception that overrides everything else in their nature. And what is that? Asked another council member. Their offspring. Their children. Humans are protective of their young in ways we cannot comprehend. In their history, they have ended civilizations for harming their children. They have burned entire continents. They have created weapons so terrible that they ban themselves from using them. But when their children are threatened, they use everything. They hold nothing back. Tevlak laughed nervously. General, with respect, they are just primitives. They have barely left their home system. That is what they want you to believe, Korvash said. I have seen their classified files. I have sources in their military. They have been holding back, testing us, watching to see if we could be trusted. And we just failed that test in the worst possible way. In a cell 3 levels below, Ambassador Hyanwu heard everything through his implant. Young Me, his intelligence operative, had managed to hack into the consortium's communication systems before being captured months ago. Now that hack was paying off, Hyanwu had been the consortium's prisoner for 8 months. They had captured him during a diplomatic mission, hoping to extract information about human military capabilities. He had told them nothing. But now, hearing about the children, he began to laugh. The guards outside his cell looked at each other nervously. The human ambassador had been quiet for months. Now he was laughing like a madman. Something funny, human? One guard asked Hyanwu walked to the force field that served as his cell door. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. You really do not understand what you have done, do you? We have leverage now. Your people will negotiate. There will be no negotiation, Hyanwu said quietly. There is no negotiation when you take our children. There is only retribution. Only justice. You think you have seen human military power? You have seen nothing. You have seen us being polite, being civilized, following the rules. He leaned closer to the force field. Those rules just stopped applying. Back in the council chamber, the argument continued. Korvash pleaded with the council to return the children immediately. But Councillor Vexther and the others refused. We will use these hostages to force the humans back to their original territory, Vexther declared. They will agree to our terms or their young will suffer. Korvash closed his eyes. Then we are all dead. You have doomed us all. You are dismissed, General, Vexther said coldly. Your fear makes you weak. We will handle the negotiations. Korvash left the chamber. As he walked through the corridors of the flagship, he activated his personal communication device. He sent a coded message to his most trusted officers. The message was simple. Prepare for total war. Begin evacuation protocols for civilian populations. This is not a drill. In her hidden location aboard a consortium station, Young Me received Korvash's message. She also had another task to complete. Using the access code she had stolen months ago, she sent a tight beam transmission toward human space. The message contained exact coordinates for every location holding the kidnapped children. It also included consortium fleet positions, defensive capabilities, and command structures. She knew the transmission would be detected. She knew it would mean her cover was blown. She did not care. Those were human children out there. Every human, civilian or military, would do whatever it took to bring them home. As alarms began blaring around her position, Young Me smiled. Let them come for her. By the time they arrived, her message would already be received. And then, heaven help the Krell Consortium, because humanity certainly would not. The message from New Bizen reached Earth's military command at 040 hours. Admiral Sujin was already awake, reviewing fleet deployments, when her assistant burst into her office without knocking. Admiral, you need to see this, now. Sujin read the report once. Then again. Her hands began to shake. Not from fear, From Rage, sound General Alert. Recall all ships. I do not care where they are or what they are doing. Every vessel returns to Sol System immediately. She stood up, her chair falling backward. And activate Protocol Guardian. Her assistant went pale. Admiral, that protocol has never been used. It requires approval from I am approving it. Activate it now. Protocol Guardian was simple. When activated, it sent a priority alert to every human in space, military and civilian alike. The message explained what had happened. It gave coordinates. It asked for volunteers. Within 6 hours, the response was overwhelming. Every military vessel in human space began moving toward the rally point. But that was not all. Civilian transports changed course. Mining ships abandoned their claims. Corporate vessels left their trade routes. Even the pirates operating in the outer systems began moving toward. Krell Space Director Min Seo of the Human Intelligence Agency arrived at military command 12 hours after the alert. She carried a black case that required 3 different biometric scans to open. Admiral, she said, placing the case on the conference table. I have authorization to release the following assets for immediate deployment. Inside the case were data chips. Each one represented a weapons program that officially did not exist. Genetic targeting systems. Nanomachine swarms. Weapons that could crack planets. Technologies that humanity had developed and then locked away, hoping never to need them. Some of these violate the Convention on Warfare, an officer noted. Su Jin looked at him. The convention assumes both sides follow the rules. They took our children. The convention is over. On New Bizen, they soon waited with the other parents. Captain Jinho had organized them into volunteer units. They had no military training, but they did not care. Every parent demanded to be part of the rescue mission. A military transport landed in the colony. The loading ramp dropped, and a man in black armor stepped out. J1 was legendary in military circles. He led the Special Operations Unit that did not appear on any official roster. He had spent 30 years fighting in places the government could not acknowledge. I need volunteers, J1 announced. No training required. If you can pull a trigger and follow orders, you can come. But I need to be clear. This will not be a clean operation. Some of us will not come back. Every parent stepped forward. All 47 of them. J1 nodded slowly. Good. Get on board. We leave in 20 minutes. Dae soon climbed onto the transport with the others. He had never held a weapon before. He was a colony administrator, not a soldier. But his daughter was out there, scared and alone. He would learn. He would do whatever it took. Across human space, similar scenes played out on thousands of worlds. Families demanded to help. Veterans came out of retirement. Young people who had never considered military service volunteered in massive numbers. Dr. Buora, a xenopsychologist who had spent her career promoting peaceful relations with alien species, found herself in an emergency session with the Human Council. She was one of the few voices calling for restraint. We must attempt negotiation first, she argued. If we respond with overwhelming force, we become the monsters we claim to oppose. Council leader Doc 1 listened to her carefully. He was an old man, known for his wisdom and patience. But even his patience had limits. Doctor, I respect your position. I truly do. But let me ask you something. Do you have children? No, I do not. Then you cannot understand. Those children are not just the responsibility of their parents. They are humanity's children. All of them. Every single one. And we will bring them home, or we will burn the stars themselves trying. The council voted. The resolution passed unanimously. Full military mobilization. No restrictions on weapon systems. No holds barred. Youngmi's transmission reached Admiral Su Jin's command 16 hours after the initial alert. The intelligence operative had included everything needed for a surgical strike. Locations, defenses, guard rotations. Everything. Get me a secure channel to Youngmi, Su Jin ordered. Admiral, her signal was detected. The Krell are hunting her. She is running dark to avoid capture. Su Jin closed her eyes for a moment. Youngmi knew the risks. Every intelligence operative did. Make sure her family knows she is a hero. When this is over, I will personally award her the Star of Valor. If she survives, someone noted. When she survives, Su Jin corrected. We do not leave our people behind. Not anymore. Not ever again. The human fleet began gathering at Rally Point Epsilon, a staging area 2 systems away from Krell space. Su Jin watched the tactical display as ship after ship arrived. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, and hundreds of civilian vessels that had been hastily armed. An ensign ran the numbers. Admiral, we have over 800 vessels at the rally point. More arriving every hour. This is the largest human fleet ever assembled. It is not enough, Su Jin said quietly. Call in the reserves. Call in everything. On the consortium flagship, General Corvesh watched his sensors with growing dread. The human fleet was not hiding. They were coming directly, openly, making no attempt at stealth. It was a statement. A promise. He sent another urgent message to the council. Release the children now. While there is still time. While we can still negotiate. The response came back immediately. The council has decided. We will use the hostages to force terms. The humans will back down when they see we are serious. Corvash deleted the message. He then did something he had never done in his entire military career. He began moving his personal forces away from the main consortium fleet. He would not be part of this. History would record what happened next, and he did not want his name associated with the slaughter that was coming. A young Krell officer approached him nervously. Sir, where are we going? Somewhere safe, Corvash replied. Somewhere far away from humanity's wrath. But sir, we are abandoning our posts. This is treason. Corvash looked at the young officer with tired eyes. Better a living traitor than a dead fool. You will understand soon enough. The human fleet continued to grow. 800 ships became 1,000. Then 1,500. Ships arrived from the furthest reaches of human space. Some had traveled for weeks at maximum speed just to join the gathering fleet. And still they came. One species, united by a single purpose. Bring the children home. Make the Krell pay. Daesung stood in the transport bay of J1's ship, learning how to check a weapon. His hands were steadier now. The rage had settled into cold determination. Hannah was waiting for him. He would not fail her. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like an avenging storm. 2,300 ships appeared simultaneously, their weapons already powered and locked on target. The Krell sensors went wild with proximity alarms. On the consortium flagship, Councilor Vexthor finally understood that General Corvash had been right. The tactical display showed an armada larger than anything the Krell had ever assembled. And more ships were still arriving. Open a channel, Vexthor ordered, its crystalline structure flickering between colors rapidly. We will negotiate. They are not responding to hails, the communication officer reported. They are just coming. Fast. Admiral Su Jin stood on the bridge of the battleship Inshin, her face carved from stone. All ships, this is Admiral Su Jin. You know the mission. You know what they took from us. Authorization codes are unlocked. Rules of engagement are simple. Anything that stands between us and those children is a valid target. Bring our children home. The response came from 2,000 ships at once. Affirmative. Bring them home. The Krell fleet moved to intercept. They had 600 warships, well-armed and battle-tested. Under normal circumstances, it would have been enough to give any attacker pause. But these were not normal circumstances. The first wave of human ships did not fire weapons. Instead, they released clouds of nanomachines, each one programmed with a simple task: disable enemy shields. Within seconds, the Krell defensive systems began failing. "What is this?" A Krell captain screamed into his communicator. "Our shields are dissolving." The second wave hit with conventional weapons. Railguns firing tungsten rods at relativistic speeds. Missiles that could think for themselves. Energy beams that could cut through armor like paper. The Krell fleet began breaking apart. On the station where the children were held, Tevlak watched the battle with growing horror. He had not believed the humans would actually attack. He had thought they would negotiate. He had been completely wrong. "Prepare the hostages," he ordered his guards. "If the humans breach the station, we will use the young ones as shields." Deep in the station's lower levels, Hana and the other children huddled together. They had stopped crying days ago. Now they just held each other, telling stories to stay brave. Hana talked about her father, how he would come for her. Some of the other children did not believe her. But she knew. Her daddy always kept his promises. J1's assault team approached the station in small, fast ships designed for stealth. They bypassed the main battle entirely, using the chaos as cover. Daesung was with them, his hands gripping his weapon so tight his knuckles were white. "Remember the plan," J1 said over the team channel. "We are not here to fight the entire station. We are here for one thing only: get the kids and get out. Everything else is secondary." The team ships attached to the station's hull like metal parasites. They cut through the outer armor with plasma torches. Alarms blared inside the station, but most of the defenders were already fighting the main human fleet. They moved through the corridors in teams of 4. Daesung stayed close to J1, following every order exactly. They encountered their first group of guards near a junction. The fight was brief and brutal. The humans showed no mercy. Meanwhile, in space, the battle was turning into a massacre. The Krell ships were designed for territorial disputes, for battles that followed rules and conventions. The human fleet was designed for one purpose now: total victory. A civilian freighter captain named Sunho had joined the fleet in his old cargo ship. He had no weapons, no armor, just a ship that had been hauling grain between colonies for 20 years. He saw a Krell cruiser moving to fire on a cluster of human destroyers. Sunho made his decision in seconds. He locked his ship's trajectory and maxed out the engines. Then he walked to the escape pod, setting the ship's autopilot. "For the children," he said quietly, and launched himself clear. His freighter slammed into the Krell cruiser at full speed. The explosion tore a hole in the enemy ship, large enough to fly a shuttle through. The human destroyers advanced through the gap, firing as they went. Inside the station, J1's team reached the holding area. They could hear children's voices behind a heavy security door. Daesung's heart raced. One of those voices might be Hana. "Blow it," J1 ordered. The demolition specialist placed charges on the door's weak points. Everyone took cover. The explosion shook the corridor. When the smoke cleared, the door was gone. Inside, 23 children stared at them with wide eyes. For a moment, no one moved. Then Hana screamed "Daddy!" and ran toward Daesung. He caught her and held her so tight he was afraid he might hurt her. But he could not let go. She was real. She was alive. She was here. All children accounted for, J1 reported on the command channel. Beginning evacuation. "Wait," came a harsh voice. Tevlak stepped into the corridor, holding a plasma weapon. Behind him were 10 guards, all armed. "You are not taking them anywhere." J1 stepped forward, placing himself between Tevlok and the children. "You have exactly 3 seconds to put down that weapon." "Or what? You will shoot me?" "Not while I can kill these little ones first." "No," said a new voice. General Korvash emerged from a side corridor, his own weapon pointed at Tevlok. "But I will, General?" Tevlok stared in shock. "You are helping them?" "I am stopping a war criminal," Korvash replied. "You have violated every code of military conduct. You have brought doom upon our entire civilization. Surrender now." Tevlok laughed. "Never. If I am doomed anyway, I will take them with me." He raised his weapon toward the children. 3 shots fired simultaneously. One from J1, one from Korvash, and one from Daesung. All 3 hit Tevlok before he could pull his trigger. The mercenary captain fell, dead before he hit the floor. The other guards looked at each other, then dropped their weapons. They had seen enough death for one day. "Move out," J1 ordered. His team formed a protective circle around the children and began running toward the extraction point dot in space. The Krell fleet was in full retreat. Those ships that could still fly were trying to escape. Admiral Sujin watched them go without ordering pursuit. She had what she came for. "All teams, report," she commanded. One by one, the extraction teams reported success. Every child was recovered. Every child was alive. Some were hurt. Some were traumatized. But they were all coming home. Daesung carried Hana through the corridors, following J1's team. Behind them, General Korvash provided rear security, making sure no other Krell tried to stop them. They reached the assault ship and piled inside Dot as the ship pulled away from the station. Daesung finally let himself relax. Hana was asleep in his arms, exhausted from fear and relief. Around him, other parents held their children, crying quietly. "Thank you," Daesung said to Korvash, who had boarded the ship with them. "You saved them." The Krell general looked at the sleeping children, his expression unreadable. "No, I simply tried to prevent the inevitable. Your species did this. Your unity. Your determination. I have never seen anything like it." The fleet began its journey home. Behind them, the Krell Consortium's power structure was collapsing. Ships were surrendering. Stations were requesting mercy. The alliance that had stood for 200 years was breaking apart, but the humans were not celebrating. They were just holding their children. Everything else could wait. 3 months had passed since the rescue. New Bizan colony had rebuilt its damaged buildings, but some scars took longer to heal. Hannah still had nightmares. So did many of the other children. But they were home, surrounded by family, beginning to feel safe again. Daesung sat in his garden, watching Hana play in the same spot where she had been taken. She was more cautious now, looking up at the sky more often. But she was playing again, and that was progress. The galaxy, however, had changed completely. Ambassador Haiyan Wu stood in a very different council chamber now. This one was on Earth, in the newly constructed Galactic Relations building. Across from him sat representatives from the former Krell Consortium. They no longer looked proud or confident. They looked defeated. "The terms are simple," Haiyan Wu said, his voice calm but firm. "The consortium is dissolved. Each member species will negotiate separate peace treaties with humanity. You will surrender all military vessels in the occupied sectors. You will pay reparations to the families of the kidnapped children. And you will accept human observers at all your major stations for the next 50 years. Councillor Vexther's crystalline body had lost its vibrant colors. Now it appeared dull gray. "These terms are harsh." "They are merciful," Haiyan Wu corrected. "You took our children. We could have taken everything. We could have reduced your worlds to rubble. Instead, we are offering peace. I suggest you accept it." One by one, the alien representatives signed the treaty. They had no choice. Their fleets were destroyed. Their stations were occupied. Their populations were demanding an end to the conflict. In a private room nearby, General Corvash waited. He had requested asylum with humanity, and after much debate, it had been granted. Admiral Sujin entered the room, studying the old Krell warrior. "You understand you can never go home," she said. "I have no home," Corvash replied. "I am a traitor to my people, but I would make the same choice again." What Tevlak did was wrong. What the consortium allowed was evil. Sujin sat down across from him. "Why did you help us? Really? You could have stayed neutral. You could have simply retreated." Corvash was quiet for a long moment. "Because I studied your species. I learned about your history. And I learned one truth that my leaders refused to accept." He met her eyes. "You are the most peaceful species I have ever encountered. You negotiate. You compromise. You search for common ground. But you are also the most dangerous. Because when you draw a line, when you say this far and no further, you mean it absolutely. And the line you draw for your children? That line is written in blood and fire. So you helped us out of fear? No, I helped you because it was right. Because in all my study of humanity, I learned something else. You may be fierce protectors, but you are also capable of forgiveness. I am proof of that. You gave me asylum instead of execution. You showed mercy when you could have shown vengeance." Sujin nodded slowly. "We will need people like you in the years ahead. People who understand both sides. People who can help prevent this from ever happening again." Council Leader Doc 1 addressed the human population in a broadcast that reached every colony, every ship, every settlement. His words were measured but powerful. 3 months ago, our children were taken. The galaxy watched to see how we would respond. Some expected us to negotiate. Some expected us to accept the situation. They were all wrong. He paused. "We are a peaceful people. We seek cooperation and mutual benefit with all species. But we have learned an important lesson, and we have taught the galaxy an important lesson in return. Humanity can be reasoned with. Humanity can be trusted. Humanity will respect your borders and your customs. But humanity's children are sacred, inviolate. Anyone who harms them, anyone who threatens them, will face the full weight of our species. Not our military, not our government. Our entire species, united as one." The message was clear. It spread through alien civilizations like a wave. First contact protocols were updated across the galaxy. A new rule appeared in every handbook, every guide, every training manual. Never harm a human child. Dr. Burra published her research 6 weeks after the conflict ended. The paper was titled, "The Defense of Offspring as a Species-Level Trigger in Homo Sapiens." It became required reading at every xenopsychology program in known space. In it, she wrote, "Humans are not naturally violent. Their history shows a species constantly struggling against its own aggressive tendencies, always seeking peace, always building systems to prevent conflict. But this peaceful nature is not weakness. It is choice. A choice that can be revoked if the threat is severe enough." The abduction of human children removed that choice. What the Krell Consortium faced was not the human military. It was not human government. It was humanity itself, operating as a single organism with a single purpose. Future species should learn from this. The price of threatening human children is not measured in ships or territory. It is measured in the end of civilizations. Young Mi recovered from her injuries in a military hospital on Mars. She had been found by the rescue teams, badly wounded but alive, hiding in a maintenance shaft on the consortium station. Admiral Sujin personally awarded her the Star of Valor in a ceremony attended by thousands. "You saved those children," Sujin said, pinning the medal to young Mi's uniform. "Your intelligence made the rescue possible. You are a hero." Young Mi shook her head slightly. "I just did my job. Any of us would have done the same." "That is what makes us strong," Sujin replied. "Every one of us would have done the same." On New Bizen, a memorial was built in the center of the colony. 23 stones, one for each child who had been taken. On each stone was carved a simple phrase, "Never again." Daeseung stood at the memorial with Hana. Other families were there too, all the parents and children who had lived through the nightmare. They gathered every week, remembering, supporting each other. "Daddy," Hana asked, "why did they take us?" It was a question she had asked many times. Daeseung knelt down to her level. "Because they did not understand what children mean to us. They thought you were just bargaining pieces. They did not know that you are our future, our purpose, our reason for everything we do. Are they bad people?" Daeseung thought carefully about his answer. "Some of them made very bad choices. But General Korvash helped us. He proved that even those we fight can change, can choose to do right. The universe is complicated, baby. Full of good people and bad people and people in between. But you know what never changes? What? How much I love you. How much every parent loves their child. That is the one constant in the whole universe." General Korvash spent his days working with human military planners, helping them understand alien psychology and tactics. But he also spent time teaching. He gave lectures at military academies, at universities, at diplomatic schools. His message was always the same. "I stand before you as a traitor to my own kind," he would begin. "But I am also living proof of an important truth. Humanity offers a choice. You can be their friend, their partner, their ally. Or you can threaten them and face the consequences. But if you choose to harm their children, there is no third option. There is no negotiation. There is only the storm." In his private quarters, he kept a small hologram. It showed the moment when Daeseung had fired at Tevlok to protect Hana. The determination in that civilian's eyes. The absolute certainty of purpose. That was humanity in a single image. Not soldiers. Not warriors. Just a parent protecting his child. And that parent had brought an empire to its knees. The galaxy learned its lesson. In the years that followed, humanity expanded peacefully into new territories. Alien species welcomed them, traded with them, built alliances with them. And every species taught their young the same rule. Humans are friends, not enemies. But never, ever, threaten their children. Hana grew up in a galaxy that remembered what happened when she and 22 other children were taken. She eventually became a diplomat herself, working to build bridges between species. On her desk, she kept a picture of her father holding her after the rescue. Sometimes, when alien dignitaries asked about the picture, she would tell them the story. She would tell them about the raid, the fear, the rescue. And she would tell them about the lesson the galaxy learned. "My species is peaceful," she would say. "We believe in cooperation and mutual respect, in finding common ground. We will negotiate on almost anything. We will compromise on most things. But there is one line we will never allow anyone to cross. And the galaxy is better for understanding that." The memorial on New Bizen became a place of pilgrimage. Alien visitors would come to pay respects, to understand the turning point in galactic history. They would read the words carved in stone, "Never again." And they would make sure, absolutely sure, that it never would happen again. Because the galaxy had learned. Humanity was not to be feared for its weapons or its ships. Humanity was to be feared for its love. And nothing in the universe was more dangerous than love protecting its young.